The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
Good morning, CHD. It is Sunday, the 9th of November, 2025. We're on our second day of our conference in Austin here. We will cover this next week. Mary and I will go in depth covering what happened here in Austin at the 2025 conference for Children's Health Defense, Mary. Very exciting.
Very exciting.
All right, let's go with our news for now. In The Defender, Senator Ron Paul demands U.S. intelligence records on Fauci, Barrick, and COVID origins. Senator Ron Paul is asking U.S. Director of National Intelligence, that's Tulsi Gabbard, to release communications between the U.S. intelligence community and virologist Ralph Barrick and Dr. Anthony Fauci and other public health officials. Paul said the documents show virologists privately acknowledged a possible lab leak while publicly claiming the virus arose naturally. Senator Ron Paul is not giving up on this.
No, thank goodness he's not, Polly. What this article points out is that there was correspondence between Ralph Barrick at University of North Carolina and the U.S. intelligence agencies starting in 2015. He was funded by the USAID PREDICT project. He put in a proposal to DARPA in 2018 that was rejected, that was clearly a bioweapons proposal. In 2020, Fauci met with Barrick, also talked with Jeremy Farrar, who's now at the World Health Organization. I mean, these people are deeply involved in covering up their engagement with bioweapons research. And one of the interesting things in this article is that the administration is investigating Fauci's role in putting the proximal origin paper in Nature magazine that's suggesting that the origin was from bats 1,000 miles away from Wuhan, whether the authors of that paper, Christian Anderson and others, who then got millions of dollars after that publication and who we know from emails had thought that it was not a natural origin. The administration is looking at whether there was bribery there, whether Fauci bribed them to put their names on the paper in exchange for millions of dollars for their laboratories or even for them personally. It's not clear. So it's very, very important that this work continue because we have not gotten to the bottom of this. The other thing that the article points out is that Tony Fauci got a preemptive pardon back to 2014. And Richard Ebright of Rutgers, who really has been a great spokesperson about gain-of-function research, he points out that that's really critical. That's when the NIAID grant to Wuhan started. And it was in violation of a moratorium on gain-of-function work that the Obama administration put in place. So it's critical work, and we're so grateful that Rand Paul has been speaking at our conference today. So this is really a really important work.
Okay, back in The Defender, Suzanne Burdick. Some kids getting double or triple vaccinated, California nurse says. Many medical providers assume that if there's no record of vaccination, the best way to ensure that a child receives the recommended vaccines is to re-administer them, according to Raina Maculan, who spent 10 years as an ER nurse and later processed autism treatment claims. California has among the highest autism rates in the country, 1 in 12.5 boys, 12.5 boys. Let's not forget Saya Sania, who died 12 hours after receiving 6 shots for 12 vaccines. And I have a link to some of our videos that CHD TV have done of these children. But it's important information, that, especially for the young mums to understand.
Oh, absolutely. I think with all the propaganda that vaccines are safe and effective, which is a lie, health professionals are not aware that vaccinating somebody 2 or 3 times with the same vaccine literally may be deadly. And what we know is that children who are adopted and migrants from foreign countries, immigrants from foreign countries, they have higher rates of neurological harm, which is likely related to the fact that they don't have proper documentation of their vaccination, and they're getting hyper-vaccinated. They're being, getting 2 and 3 times what they should be getting. Also, we know that children on Medicaid, which is a lot of kids, I think it's 40% of kids, that go to a Medicaid clinic, they get their money at the clinic from Vaccines for Children, and they basically force those pediatricians to follow the Vaccines for Children schedule exactly. And that was one of the cases that we have funded against it's Cardenas versus CDC, that should not be required, that a pediatrician who gets money from Vaccines for Children has to follow the whole schedule that has never been shown to be safe or effective. Another thing this article points out is the bribery, right? The gift cards to parents, and not to mention what we've looked at a lot, Polly, is the money that goes to the pediatricians from the insurance companies for vaccination. So we've got a whole cluster of problems here that I think we're in the process of starting to unravel.
Yeah, and also the military reporting to us a lot about how they and their families moving around, and again, their children and the military members themselves getting revaccinated wherever they go. It's terrible business. So I'm grateful to the Defender for sounding the alarm on that. So this is Jill Erzen in the Defender. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. demands global phase out of mercury in vaccines. This is US Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he was in Switzerland, and he urged delegates in Switzerland to follow the US lead and eliminate mercury from all vaccines. He also criticized the convention's 2013 global treaty, which targets mercury as a dangerous toxin, but exempts thimerosal-containing vaccines from regulation. Good for him for doing that.
Well, this is fantastic, Polly. So the countries are meeting right now under the Minamata Convention about getting mercury out in Geneva. And it is really important that he's saying this, and he's asking for all of the countries to phase out all, the convention is asking to phase out mercury fillings, but he's asking that they get rid of mercury in vaccines. And it's really in vaccines that are still being administered. Apparently 5 on a global basis have mercury in them. So this is really important. And, sadly, it was the US administration back in 2013 that was arguing to keep mercury in vaccines. So this is a terrific about face by Kennedy as the Secretary of HHS.
Well, mercury in vaccines has got to go, but what also has to go is aluminum in vaccines. And that's our next article, Brenda Belletti in the Defender. Aluminum in vaccines far exceeds safe limits for infants, critics say. Federal health officials are examining the safety of aluminum adjuvants in vaccines, and legacy media and the health establishment say it's safe. But critics say safety studies haven't been done. Vaccine makers sometimes underreport aluminum content in vaccines, and that evidence links aluminum adjuvants to serious health issues, including autism. I mean, aluminium is like a serious neurotoxin. I mean, I can't believe that if you think about it logically, Mary, there is no safe limit for poisoning yourself.
There's no safe limit for aluminum. And I was very happy to hear President Trump say that when he was in that press conference about autism. The irony at the beginning of this article says that National Public Radio says that scientists are worried that there's a study of aluminum. It's like, why would scientists be worried of any study? That's exactly what scientists should be doing. And there is a reasonable alternative to aluminum for vaccines, which is apparently calcium phosphate. They've known aluminum is how you induce allergies. It hyper alerts the immune system, and then you develop antibodies to whatever it is that is there at the same time as aluminum. It's being used in 7 vaccines, this article points out: DTaP, Hib, pneumococcal, Hep A, Hep B, HPV, and meningitis. It's absolutely should not be used.
All right, well, now to Michael Nebadakis in the Defender. Michigan bill would protect parents who seek second medical opinion for kids. Michigan State Representative Jennifer Woods, who said she was influenced by Children's Health Defense, introduced House Bill 5163 to protect parents seeking second medical opinions for their children. The bill would prevent the state from labeling parents as neglectful for exploring alternative medical care. Well, that's good.
Well, this is very important, Polly. So many families, they describe 2 families, one with a child with cancer, one with a child who allegedly needed their appendix taken out. And the families were seeking second opinions, and they were reported to Child Protective Services. And I've heard these stories many times that parents are basically being penalized and, potentially risking losing custody of their children when they don't follow standard conventional medical advice. The hospitals report them. And so there are laws in other jurisdictions, Texas, Missouri, England, that make sure that if you're seeking another opinion after getting a conventional advice, you're not penalized for that. And that's really important. So kudos to this woman. She has 4 kids herself. She found CHD during COVID. And this is really positive development. She's looking for a co-sponsor in the Michigan Senate.
Okay, fantastic. Suzanne Burdick again in the Defender. 2 New York families sue schools for denying medical vaccine exemptions. They're suing their school districts in federal court for denying their children's medical vaccine exemptions, citing the winning ruling in a similar case funded by Children's Health Defense. The lawsuits allege the districts acted unlawfully and put their children's health at risk.
Well, this is fantastic news. These cases are being brought by Chad Davenport, one of the lawyers who worked with us in the precedent-setting Oceanside, the case against Ceredo versus Oceanside. The Department of Health and the Department of Education in New York are just absolutely violating the law that has been established in the Oceanside case, which is that no health department or district can override what a treating physician says is needed for that child. And these are shocking cases, Polly. This is the case of a girl and a boy separately. The girl had multi-organ failure after her last shot. The doctor says under absolutely no circumstances should she get another shot. She hasn't gotten a Tdap, and the school district is denying her medical exemption, literally putting her life at risk. And if these children withdraw into homeschooling, the schools will not help them in any way. It's extremely punitive. But what's really interesting here is, again, how does the money work, Polly? And Chad Davenport, the attorney, says he doesn't have documentation on this yet, but it looks as if the New York State Department of Health fines the educational districts if they accept medical exemption, and it fines them allegedly $2,000 a day. So now we can sort of understand a bit more clearly why the school districts won't grant these medical exemptions. But this has already gone to the federal courts. The law has already been established here. We will, Davenport and these families will win these lawsuits. Their legal fees will be covered. There's no mystery in this, Polly. This is just New York State being recalcitrant and going against the law. So, I think we will be happy to report that New York State has been slapped down again. And hopefully we'll get more information about these perverse financial incentives for schools to deny medical exemptions.
Absolutely. I love that we're unraveling all of this. If you go back to our show, Mary, I don't know how many years we've been doing, years. You see how it was so tight then, and it's all starting to...
It's unraveling. It's the great unraveling. We are, our conference is the moment of truth. We are getting to the truth. We're still not there yet on gain of function. We're still not there yet on how the childhood system really works, but we're getting there. And once people see the truth, it collapses. This is collapsing. We're in a house of cards that's collapsing, and long overdue.
Quite right. Michael Nevadakis in the Defender. Stanford under investigation for secret scheme to help foreign governments censor Americans. So this is Jim Jordan, chairman of the U.S. House of Representatives Judiciary Committee, is heading up the investigation. In an October the 22nd letter, Jordan asked the director of Stanford's Cyber Policy Center to provide documents relating to a foreign censorship scheme, and a roundtable held last month that brought together foreign officials who have directly targeted American speech.
So this is great. Jim Jordan has really been a champion in the House of Representatives and Congress in getting to the truth about the federal corporate censorship industrial complex. And so Michael Schellenberger, who really uncovered the Twitter files, is the main spokesperson in getting this information to the public, which is great. And apparently what they're trying to do, Polly, the Trump administration defunded the money going to the Stanford Internet Observatory and this fusion of the academia and corporations and the government. They stopped that. But the way that Stanford is now trying to get around this is with foreign money. And they're trying to put in place these censorship rules that already exist in the European Union and the United Kingdom, among other places, and then have them apply to the United States, which is an end run, an attempted end run around the First Amendment. We have real freedom of speech laws in this country based in the Constitution. And so this is very serious, and I'm very grateful to Jim Jordan and Michael Schellenberger for really making us aware that this attempt at global censorship is continuing, particularly around vaccines and particularly around COVID. So we can't let that happen. I'm glad that we're covering this.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is in the Defender. It's by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. The author is Andrew Walsley. And the headline is Bribery, Child Labour, Animal Abuse, Deforestation, What to Know About the World's Largest Industrial Meat Producer. This is Brazilian meat giant JBS. It's been long linked to corruption, labour abuses, cattle laundering, and the Amazon deforestation. Yet the company is set to attend the COP30 climate talks in Belém this month, where it will likely trumpet its green credentials, a move that has sparked outrage over how major polluters are being welcomed as climate partners. So again, I didn't know any of that. So to me, I'm so grateful to the Defender or to the Bureau of Investigative Journalism for exposing that. Didn't know, not my area. So it's important that we learn all these things. It's all around corruption.
Yeah, I mean, meat producing often has a lot of abuse associated with it. And the idea that they're now being seen as a climate partner just really shows a lot of the corruption that goes into all of those kinds of international meetings, unfortunately. JBS, I believe, sells a lot of meat into the United States. So it's good to know that, this is bad stuff.
This is good news. In the Defender, Brenda Belletti, FDA cracks down on unapproved fluoride supplements for kids. The FDA announced it would take action against companies selling unapproved fluoride supplements for children under age 3 or those at low to moderate risk of tooth decay. The move is part of a broader push by the agency to remove unapproved fluoride products from the market. Long last, Mary, man, that's been a long time coming.
Long time coming. They're stopping this outdated practice. What's really appalling here, Polly, is the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Dental Association were recommending these supplements to children under 3 who didn't have access to fluoridated water when there is no science to suggest that taking supplements, ingesting fluoride is helpful for preventing tooth decay. I mean, completely non-science-based, completely non-science-based.
Yeah, and a lot of our viewers are sounding the alarm over going to see their dentist with their children, and they're quickly wiping this fluoride around their gums. I don't know. It's new to me. We didn't have that when we had our children, Mary, but it's great that the people are warning the other people about it. And they do it very quickly, apparently. Just like they whip you off for a quick Hep B at birth. Same kind of thing. So, you have to be careful, not just with doctors, pediatricians. You've got to watch your dentists now as well, sadly. Right, Dr. Joseph McCullough in the Defender, cancer-causing drug banned in most countries, but still allowed in US pork. Carbadox, a drug given to pigs in US farms, is known as a carcinogen that international experts declared unsafe at any level of exposure. Even though the FDA has acknowledged Carbadox's risk for decades, industry pressure and regulatory delays have allowed it to remain on the market.
Crazy. So this Carbadox is used in these concentrating feeding operations to create faster growth in the pigs and to suppress gut infections. But it has been outlawed almost everywhere else in the world as as something that causes cancer. It's injurious to the workers and to the consumers, and it's unnecessary if you have good farming practices. So again, I'm glad that we're learning about this. If you're going to buy pork, it sounds like you really have to buy organic, especially with meat, Polly, given the vaccines that the meat are given the antibiotics that they're given, drugs like this that they're given. I really think that meat is one of the most important places to get that is genuinely raised in a humane and safe way.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Okay, well, look, everyone, there's a slightly shorter show today. We've got to rush back to our conference. Hope many of you will be watching us live on the stream. Mary and I will report on that next week. We do not have a geoengineering report for you this week. We will be back to normal next week, but a lot of our editors traveling for this conference. So I hope you'll all be over there on the stream. And like I say, we will catch you up if you've missed both of those next week. And we'll be talking about on CHD TV as well. So pray big, stand firm, never settle. And Mary and I will see you soon. We are live now, so let's get some names. Who are you?
I'm Jennifer Walters.
And you?
John Walters.
Brian Walters.
Chris Walters.
How old are you, Chris?
12.
And how old are you?
17.
17. Nice. Okay, some of you may remember you because you're on Financial Rebellion
Yes.
quite a lot these days. Michelle.
I do the health series for Solari, and I get to work for Catherine Austin Fitz. I mean, please, best job ever.
Yeah, best job ever. Okay, so let's talk about what happened. This is basically a vax versus unvax study in your household. Same parents, same environment, same everything. Are there any other children we don't know about?
Nope.
Right, okay. So when you guys were pregnant with your first child, did you have a conversation about vaccinations?
No,
No.
I don't recall having a conversation prior. I think it was just assumed that we were going to stick with the schedule.
I was fresh out of nursing school, so I had the full indoctrination. I was never trained what was in the shots or anything about it. In fact, I did a flu clinic when I was a nursing student, and every single time we would give medications as a nurse, or a nursing student, especially as a nurse, they make you write out these drug cards. So you would put, like, if I was going to go to a patient's room and give them something for nausea, I would look up an antiemetic, I would write it down, I would look at all the side effects, and I would go through this whole entire card, and I'd have to present it to my professor, and then I would have to go to my preceptor, then I would have to, I mean, it was just this huge thing for a nursing student to give any medications at all. I would have to know everything about it, frontwards, backwards, forwards, whatever. Then we did a flu clinic, and I remember getting prepared the night before, and I had my drug card, and I called all my friends that were in the class with me, and I said, flu shots, we're supposed to know about flu shots, so what flu shot are we giving? Do we know? Because apparently there's like a lot of flu shots, right? And they're like, oh, I don't know which one. We're just writing flu shot on our drug card. So we all showed up, and we had our drug card, and we said, okay, what flu shot is it? So we can look up side effects, ingredients, ask about allergies, because we were remembering something about like an egg allergy maybe might be a problem. And the teacher looked at me and said, oh no, it's a vaccine, it's fine. So, and we all kind of stood around and we were like, what? And I actually said, well, that makes me feel a little uncomfortable. I said, I don't know if somebody's gonna have an allergic reaction or not, and you guys pushed these drug cards and all of the interrogation before we'd give any medications. I'm like, so I'm just gonna hang out and take everybody's intake forms. So I actually never gave a flu shot that day in the clinic because I felt funny about it, but it wasn't because I was, oh, I'm never gonna vaccinate. It was because that just was a weird thing. And I still have that blank flu shot card. I should have brought it, my old drug cards.
Just frame it.
But yeah, I should. Anyway, so, but I was still indoctrinated, but that's how we weren't taught about medications. I mean, we weren't taught about vaccinations compared to our meds, because if we had to give out meds, we knew them backwards and forwards. Okay, so I get pregnant, let's see, what was that, 2005. I graduate, and we get married, and then we have our baby, and I am so organized. I have all these notebooks and these folders, and I have the list of vaccinations. I did so much research on the paint we used in Brian's room. I mean, every single thing that went into his room, his stroller, his bassinet, I had my dad take something back because it was coated with something that I didn't like. I mean, it was amazing what a stickler I was for fabrics in the house or whatever, flame retardants, and but I just lined up the vaccinations in this little notebook, and I took him in every single time. So his first reaction, I would, as you look back, hindsight's 2020, but he was born at 35.5 weeks. He was breech, and it was kind of an emergency C-section type thing. Now that I look back at it as a labor and delivery nurse and all the things I know, and I work with midwives and home health and all this stuff, I know that I probably didn't even have to deliver that day if they just would have helped me, have some magnesium, drink some fluids. I just got off of I was on my feet all day serving Thanksgiving to a bunch of family members. I was really stressed out, and then I might have eaten 2 or 3 pies. But anyway, but I went in and they said, oh, his heart rate's down. You don't get to have a natural childbirth. And so I was like, oh, that sucks. Well, okay, well, we're just going to have our baby. And then I held him before they gave him a Hep B or vitamin K because I was on the table. And so they just kind of wrap him up and you got to hold him and I got to hold him and they stuck him next to my cheek and he was cooing and he was happy and he was chubby and just so pretty. I mean, he's such a good looking boy. And I was so excited. And then they put me in another room and said, okay, we'll bring you your baby in a minute. And then they said, oh, I'm sorry, we can't bring you your baby. We've had to take him to the NICU. He's having trouble breathing. And I said, what kind of trouble breathing? And they said, well, it's just fast heart rates, fast respirations. Remember that? So we just waited in the post-op recovery. And then, of course, we've just had major, me. I just had major abdominal surgery from having that, right? They cut you open, they throw your guts on a table, they pull out a baby, they put your guts back, and they just kind of stitch you up, and they go, there you go, bye. No physical therapy, enjoy yourself. No pain medicine, enjoy. So I was laying in the hospital bed thinking, I've got to get up and check on Brian. I don't even know where he is in the hospital. So I finally got a nurse to help me sit up, because it was really hard to sit up. And he was helping me the whole time by running and getting people. I finally got to go see him, and what was it? It was almost 12 hours later. Mm-hmm. And the one nurse helped me get up so I could find out where he was. So I found out where he was. They told me that I couldn't go and see him until after my anesthesia wore off. So then I was like, okay. So then I got my, I got a pain pill from them so then I could try to walk, and because it was really bad, C-sections suck. And then I had a nurse that night that wouldn't give me any pain medicine. And so I was without any pain coverage at all. And we're talking not even like Advil, she wasn't giving me anything. So I was totally in pain. But I remember I got up and I held onto the wall of the Kaiser and I walked myself down, and because he had to go to work. And so he was gone for a while. So I finally got into the NICU to see him, and he was hooked up to a bunch of machines and nobody was giving me any updates. And so I said, what happened? And he was jaundiced, really bad jaundice. I said, what happened? I saw him. I hung out with him for a half hour. He was fine. And they said, well, we gave him, his vitamin K and they didn't mention the Hep B. And they said, we gave him his vitamin K and I don't know what happened. He might've just been upset or something, and he's just having trouble breathing. He'll be fine. He was in the NICU for a month. And he was having apnea. And so he wasn't breathing all the time. So we finally brought him home, and I was able to get a monitor hooked onto him, and I put one under his mattress so we could tell when he was breathing. And I would go to bed with the clicking sound, click, 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 because it would be his breathing. And that alarm went off. It's giving me the chills thinking about how many times that alarm went off. And I'm so glad I had that alarm, because every time the alarm would go off, he was literally by our bed, in his little bassinet. And remember, it would go off and we would fly out of bed. I wouldn't even know where I was, and I would get up and be holding a baby, and I would just wake up then, And every time I never had to do CPR or anything to him, the alarm would get him to breathe again. But that was really awful. So then, of course, in 2 months, I had to get him in for his shots. So I went there, and he got his 2-month shots, and he slept for a day afterwards. But then he seemed to be developing fine, right? And he was adorable and cute. In fact, I have a video just to show a normal baby real quick. It won't take long. That he was really adorable, cute little happy baby. So let's see. This is him at 4 months. Yeah, I don't know. Is it going to be clear enough?
No, it's really clear.
Okay. You can see how cute and eye contact. And then here he is playing with his nieces. This was about 6 months old. Mm-hmm. And then he's playing peekaboo with me. Right, yeah. Just right on. This is his 1-year birthday. And this was a month before I had all of the vaccines give him a reaction. He got his 1-year shots. This was because we went at 14 months to get his 12-month shots. And this was his 1-year birthday. And he had the cake, and he squeezed it, and look at all that food dye. But he had no reaction to it. And I didn't know. He was just eating. See, here he is with mommy. Anyway, super cute. He had language. He was talking. Mama, up, up, bye, bye, dad, dad, go, go. Every morning he would wake up and he would say, Elmo, Elmo, because we had to put him on the Sesame Street indoctrination plan. And he was in his crib and he was just jumping up and down, always so happy. And so I took him in on, it was January 2008. And he got his DTaP, he got his hepatitis A, he got a Haemophilus influenza B, that's the Hib. He got his, he got a flu shot. That's fantastic. He got his MMR-VAR, measles, mumps, rubella, varicella. It's the ProQuad that they took off the market, but it was still at Kaiser. And then he got the pneumococcal.
All in one go.
All in one go. See, here's all the yellow. Lots of fun. Those are the ones he got all in one day. So, of course, when I went in, I thought I was being smart. I said, well, how many shots is he getting today? Because I'm concerned about the MMR. Because I had heard through a couple of my friends, who, by the way, I knew one girl who didn't vaccinate at all in nursing school, but she said it was because of her religion. And then I knew another girl that was doing some sort of separate thing, but she never explained to me why. Like, I thought they were crazy, but if they would have, like one of them, I was like, oh, religious. Okay, I understand that. But the other one never told me why. She never said, and this is why. Like, she never told me, oh, here's an insert. Nothing. She just said, oh, never mind. And she wanted to keep to herself. So that's fine. I'm not blaming her. So I go into my doctor and I said to him, yeah, I'm a little concerned about the MMR. And he says, oh, no, it's fine. Except, we could spread these out. And I said, spread them out? I said, oh, well, what does that entail? What does that mean? I don't understand what that means. And he goes, oh, never mind. And I was like, okay. And then I thought to myself, God, I'd have to get dressed again and drag my baby out of bed. You know how it is to get to the doctor's appointment on time. And so I just thought, oh, that's okay. Let's just get it. So I thought he was getting maybe 3 shots. Literally, I had no idea he was getting all these. I kind of knew the schedule, but I only knew DTaP and MMR because they don't really teach you the newest ones in school. Like you're not up to, anyway, I had no idea about the pneumococcal. Anyway, so I held him on the table, and I have nightmares about this. I would probably say it's down to like a couple times a month now, but I have a nightmare of holding him down on this table. And I run in the room and I try to stop myself. But that's stupid. So anyway, but I remember taking off all of his clothes, and he was so chunky and happy, and he was cooing at me, and he was saying, mama, mama, mama. And I said, it's okay, baby. It's going to be over with really soon. I said, you just hold on. It's going to be okay. We're going to go get ice cream, and, and I'm going to fill you full of junk. We're going to have fun. And I said, I'm so sorry. I'm having to hold you down. And he just held real still, and he screamed a little bit, and then he went really quiet in the car and got really quiet. And I drove and I was like, baby, you okay? And I kept having to reach into the back and check on him. And I remember driving with my arm like this, holding onto his little foot. And because, he was facing backwards, so it was hard. I was grabbing onto his little hand. That's what it was. It was a little, I feel pink. And I was like, okay, it's warm. There's something warm there. He's okay. And I was looking in the mirrors, because you have all those mirrors. And I thought, okay, so I pulled over twice to check on him. He seemed to be okay, but he was really tired, like lethargy. And I thought, so I got home, called the doctor. And while I was waiting for the doctor, because it's the Kaiser system, so it's a lot of phone trees, while I was waiting to talk to a human instead of a robot, I was feeling him, and he was starting to heat up, and it went to about 105. He had 105-degree fever, and that lasted for a week. We went to the emergency room that night. We took him back that night to the emergency room, and then by then he would scream that DTaP scream anytime you'd lay him down. And it gives me the chills to think about it now, because we were actually taught about encephalopathy in school, and how some kids have it, and how they could scream and what that scream would sound like. And I thought, oh no, his brain's swelling, right? So I took him immediately in, got into the doctor, and the emergency room said, no, everything's fine. We'll take a urinary, we'll put a catheter in his penis. And I thought, you're gonna hurt his little tiny penis? He'll pee. He pees fine. I'm like, let's just get a little bag. It'll just be a minute. He'll breastfeed a little bit. But I couldn't hold him. I'm like, look, when I put him flat, he screams. When I have him up, he's fine. When I put him flat, he screams. And nobody would really help me. And then a nurse pulled me to the side and said, this is theirs. She said, she wrote on the back, this was an order for a UA. But she said, this is theirs and this is the number. She says, I want you to call it. And I said, theirs? I'm like, that sounds familiar. I mean, literally. And I went, oh yeah, vaccine injury. And then I was like, he did have his vaccines. So we were kind of arguing and worried more about like how much the appointment was costing in the emergency room. Remember? I mean, we were just like, oh my God, it's a $500 copay. I mean, that was a lot of money. But I was also worried about this, but then they were telling me he was fine. And they said, just don't lay him on his back for a while. And so then I had to bring him in a couple more times because his brain was swollen. And then he changed. He fell asleep, and I would say, and then just to backtrack, that night, was it that night or was it the next morning? It was the next morning. So we got home, everything was fine, and then the next morning we were expecting Elmo to be playing because he could automatically turn it on. He figured out how to do it, and we were expecting music in his bedroom, and I'm like, it's quiet. What time is it? And he's like, he should be up. And I've never seen him get out of bed so fast. I mean, ran, because we didn't have the monitors on anymore then, and he ran as fast as he could, and he brought me back this limp, wet, jammy rag. Like, he looked like he was a wet towel, and he was just hanging there limp, and he looked post-ictal, like he had maybe had a seizure. But we've never had any seizures proven on him, so I don't know. But and then we just went on back to the hospital, back to this doctor, back to that doctor, neurologist, and nobody knew what it was. They all told me everything would be fine. And so then that year, I took him maybe almost every month, every couple weeks, in for ear infections, in for all sorts of therapy. Like he started having trouble walking again. He started falling. He was really weak on one side of his body. His face was droopy, like he had had a stroke. And every time I took him to the Kaiser Permanente hospital, I would feel like I was trapped in this circle, because you know Kaiser is everything. It's a doctor, it's a hospital, you can get your x-rays and you can get this and that. And at first you think, oh, I have a card and it's a $5 copay and I can go to Kaiser and I can get my x-ray over there and my pharmacy over here, and then over here's my doctor and my another doctor's here. And I just think, are you freaking kidding me right now? I sat there thinking, this isn't like easy. This isn't for my convenience. This is a prison, is a Kaiser prison, right? And that happened like the whole entire time I was there. I used to say things like that. And then like an idiot, I took him in. I wasn't sure it was vaccine injury. I reported it, but I was told it was very rare and that he wasn't going to be getting another MMR, so not to worry about it. That was probably it. So then I took him in on 12 months later. I took him in for another hepatitis A, and what's that horrible thing that I took him in for? Oh yeah, and he got a flu shot, because you know that's important. And that night, everything went to hell in a handbasket. During that whole entire year when he had ear infections and was sick, he was starting to lose a word a week, and he wasn't progressing. But after that Hep A and the flu shot, he changed completely. He shut off. He shut down. That was it. And then I couldn't believe what had happened to him, and I started going through things, and all of a sudden, I was sitting in my bedroom, I was reading, I was trying to figure out what to do, because we'd go to all these doctors, all these Kaiser people. I was already looking into speech therapy before we even took him in for his hepatitis A shot, and nobody was telling me anything. And I remember sitting in my office, bedroom / everything, and I said, I said, God, I said, I've got to figure this out. And all of a sudden, the VAERS comment from the nurse, all the friends that didn't vaccinate, all their comments coming at me, my own memory of going in for only one shot, only had one shot when I was little. The doctor wanted me to get measles, wanted me to get all this stuff. And I remember my mom saying, oh, and I only got I think I only got polio. They didn't even want me to get the DPT because he had heard bad things about it. So all those things started hitting me in the head. And it was mostly, and then also seeing Jenny McCarthy at Oprah. And I thought, Jenny McCarthy, I live in Studio City. I'm gonna go find her. I know she's down the street. So I called a few contacts, a few people, and I ended up at her door with Brian on my hip. And I said, I broke him. Can you help me get him better? And she said, oh yeah, come on in. Let's do this. And so she told me, go to Autism One. These are the things I did. This is my Dr. Carcinell. This is where I go. These are the diets you do. And so I came home, and this wonderful man that I married said, I said, John, I said, I think I broke him. And he's really sick. And all these things that are happening, he's banging his head into the floor. He's screaming. He's not talking anymore. And I'm trying to get all this help. And the only people that say that they'll help me at Kaiser handed me a form that said, you need to go to the regional center and you need to sign him up for the regional center therapy. And then when he's 6 years old, or 5 years old or whatever, he can go to kindergarten and be in the LAUSD system for therapy. And then after he graduates, if he makes it through school, then he can move into an adult home. But you'll probably have to put him in an adult home before that because he'll be extremely violent, and you'll probably have to say goodbye to him at 12. Oh, and by the way, he's never gonna love you. That was pretty much the form and all the stuff that they told us. And we put up with that for like 5 minutes at the regional center, and then I told them never mind, and we went and found all of our own things. Mm-hmm. But this man said, oh, what do we need to do to help him? And I said, well, I'm not gonna be able to work anymore, so we're gonna be broke. And he's like, okay, that's nothing new for us. We're always broke. And because we were starting out, whatever. And I said, I'm gonna need you to make a lot of money because I'm gonna have to go to all these therapy things. And he said, yeah, exactly. Yeah, please keep working. No. And then I said, you know what? I said, I have the power of my mind. I'm a nurse. They taught me wrong, but I bet you I could look it up and do it better. I know I could fix this. Went to Autism One, we learned a bunch of stuff. And then he said, okay, you don't have to work. And what I did was I started bartering for everything. So I would go to a place where I wanted him to get therapy, and I would say, I'll answer your phones, I'll do nurse stuff. And so I would work for free for everybody. And I still do that. I still work for free for everybody just to trade for different things that we do. And so that's what that's been. And so far so good with the therapy and everything. How are you doing? You're good? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, let's talk to you in a minute. Let's hear about you now.
So then 2011 rolls around, and I have this kid. And first of all, I was I was told by almost every person I knew except fellow autism moms, I was told to never have any more kids because it's genetic and this is going to happen to them. And I said, but I want kids. I want a whole bunch of kids. We were 5 years, he was almost 5 years old when he was born. I'm like, I'm falling behind here. I got to get going. And I said, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to delve in and I'm going to find out what really is making people sick. What are these diseases that everybody's afraid of? So I did a bunch of research, and I remember I came to you and I said, I don't think we ever need vaccines ever, and I think they're nothing but poison. I don't think we need to even worry about any of these childhood illnesses because they might even be like, not necessarily a rite of passage, but they're just the way our body takes care of ourselves naturally, and I'm not going to worry about it. Are you going to worry about it? And he was like, no, I'm not going to worry about it. And so I said, okay, let's just have a baby. So I went to a midwife, and we thought we found the right midwife, but when I was giving birth to him in the hospital, the minute his heart rate went down, which is normal, by the way, babies' heart rates go down while you're pushing. because they're being squeezed through the birth canal. So they go like this, and they get squeezed down, and then they go, and so heart rates drop in and out, right? But they had me hooked up to monitors I didn't even ask for. And my midwife stood there and said, oh, it's just what the hospital says. And I'm like, it's just hospital protocol. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to have anything happen. Just let me move. I can feel his head. I know where it is. Let me wiggle over this way. And they basically pinned me down to the bed. And she had to leave, and a doctor came in with forceps. And so he was delivered fine. He didn't really have, he ended up not even having to use them. But I can't even tell you how awful I felt laying there pinned going, why am I not at home having this baby? But I was told a VBAC, and I'm old. So, and they scared me into it.
How old were you when you had him?
What was I, 39?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was 39. I mean, I'm healthy. He was fine. He was 30, almost 38 weeks, whatever that means. I mean, how can we know? But he was doing great. Anyway, so we give birth, I give birth to him, and he's fine. APGARs are great. Everything's great. And then I hear mumblings amongst the nurses, and I know some of the people on the floor. I had worked by then for a while. And she said, oh, hey, one of the nurses came over. Oh, hey, Jen, listen, this is just a heads up. Because you're not going to give the Hep B, I think you're probably going to have to give the vitamin K, because otherwise they're going to probably get CPS involved. I'm just warning you. And so I said, get my husband, because you were over watching the baby. Because what he did was he glued himself to Christopher. Wherever Christopher went, he was there, because I couldn't get up at the time. They were doing some stitches. And so I said, okay, what are we going to do? And so we had all the nurses go and find all of the vitamin K ingredients, and I picked the one that was the least toxic. And because at the time I had Brian at home, I'm also a caregiver to my older sister who, because of a hospital protocol, has brain damage from birth in 1955. She had placenta previa, my mom did, and she almost bled out, and they needed 3 doctors to sign off on a C-section.
And that was the only one he ever got.
So wait, he
Yeah,
did
yeah.
get
No.
He got the vitamin K.
He got the vitamin K. But so,
Drops
but
or-
I couldn't have CPS going to my house. They were going to get my sister. They were going to get they were going to see, you know.
Even though it should be.
Right.
Yeah,
Poison.
it was
But
poison. So
he's
anyway,
never
so they had
a
it.
vaccination.
Never.
Never
They
had a
tried.
vaccine.
They tried.
They tried. So that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So hepatitis. They came in and tried to scare us about hepatitis B like 1,000 times. In fact, so I didn't have to be there longer than 12 hours is what they told me after you do a VBAC. So we were already packed, ready to go. I was awake. I was breastfeeding him constantly. He never left our site. If I felt like I was tired, I would tell him. He would hold the baby. And then if he would take a nap, I had a shoe that I could throw at his head and get him to get up real quick if somebody came in the room. So we had like a plan of what we were doing. And how many doctors probably came in the room?
10, a dozen, I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly.
it was a lot. And what
Yeah,
would they
no,
say?
I felt that if we left him alone for 1 minute, that they would have vaccinated him. And they were angry. They were very angry every time I would politely refuse, decline the vaccine. A couple of the doctors, I asked them to tell me what was in it. None of them could. But they were angry. But we somehow got out of it. Somehow got out of there without.
They tried to tell us that we would give him hepatitis B. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
am I gonna?
It was ridiculous.
What does that even mean? You know? Yeah. So it was pretty scary. So we got out of there fast, pretty fast. I mean, I almost signed out AMA.
It was the next day, I think.
Yeah. Well, it was really early, and we booked it, and we got home, and let me tell you, not having to take him to well baby visits is such a joy. It's so wonderful. I know what to look for. I'm his mom.
But
So
people think they have to go to the health checks.
you don't have to go to the health checks. You know. Listen, I'm not saying ignore if you see something weird about your kid. If something's wrong, you're the mom, you know. Or if you think, oh, maybe I should ask somebody. Ask your neighbor, ask a friend, whatever. Say, hey, do you think that this is something to be concerned about? Call a friend, call your mom's group, whatever. Or you can take him into the doctor then and ask him a question. But I don't think it should be
I'm 12 years, and we're still waiting for that.
Yeah, we're still
thing.
waiting to take him to the doctor.
Never been to the doctor?
No, I mean,
Have you
he
ever had
goes.
the antibiotics?
No, he does silver, and so I call it an antibiotic.
So
So
have you got any issues at all? Are you paralyzed anywhere?
Yeah, he saw Dr. Carcinell at his appointment,
Stop
and
it.
Dr. Carcinell just said he looks great.
yeah, Dr. Carcinell, who sees Brian, then takes a half hour to tickle him, you
Yeah.
know, and like laugh and talk to him and say, "What are you doing, Chris?" You know, and they have like a great time together.
And he's fine.
But yeah, and he's such a good brother to Brian, and Brian is such a good big brother to Chris, and they're just really good to each other. And he's so healthy, and I can't tell you, I didn't have to get up and get dressed with him. I just had my sweats and breastfed him, and I ate, and then I would still work and do things, but it wasn't for a while. I got to enjoy the baby and really learn about him. You don't have to go. And he has a chiropractor. We checked on him, and he does, I mean, he did see Dr. Carcinell not too long after he was born, and just, you know, so we could have something on paper, but it wasn't because of a health check.
That exam took about 30 seconds.
Yeah, he was just like, wow, he looks great. So, you know.
What's the conclusion of your study?
The conclusion is obvious that
Vaccines are poison. All they're doing is they're using fear and a huge amount of money. I mean, I have friends that their families are supported by drug companies. They make the labels for them. Like their company makes labels for all the things, and that's a support. Think about how many businesses are supported by these horrific vaccines, and I don't think there's going to be any way to stop it.
No, I think that the conclusion is that the entire vaccine industry is just based on you know, lies, on a terrible foundation, and
Yep.
yeah, that's the conclusion, and here's the proof.
And so what do you like doing? What's your favorite things to do?
When I'm on my iPad, I usually make edited videos, mostly for my friend. I talk on Zoom, but sometimes I do it just to have some cool stuff on there, because I see all these fan-made videos, mostly from 2010, and I kind of contribute to those, like
You make them better.
like I sometimes wish to have a YouTube channel where I can edit those videos and put them up on there.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Is that what you want to be when you grow up? A YouTuber? I don't know if that's the right language.
No, I think
Well,
it's more of a
mainly
I think that's right.
film editor.
Film editor. Oh, we always need film editors.
Yeah, definitely. And we're fixing up a 2004 Chevy Silverado, and you're going to name it what?
The Analog Command Center.
Yep, because it has no digital anything in it, and so he really
Nice.
likes it.
Yeah, it's the truck that we brought him home from the hospital in.
Yeah, and he's going to drive it. We're
Really
working
cool.
on it. We're working really hard, aren't you, baby?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really proud of you. You're doing really well. Great. And what about you?
I don't really know what I want to be, but a mechanic looks cool. Being a mechanic.
You're nice.
I play sports.
He hasn't given up on the NBA yet, so we're gonna.
He's
we're gonna
really
go.
good at basketball, and that's the other thing. When we take him to anything, people always make comments. I mean, ever since he was very little, he's so coordinated. And I'm just thinking, it's not us. You know, I mean, no offense,
No, of course.
but there's such a difference between his peers in California. Everybody's vaccinated that's in the school now, you know, so we homeschool, but he still plays with his friends, and there's a huge difference. So
Well, thank you for this interview. Thank you for talking to us and this is what I call the real science.
Yes.
yeah, we have it
This is
every
the
day in our
real
house,
science.
and it's not fun. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
No.
There's no need to vaccinate. Keep your babies to yourself. You don't need a pediatrician.